Hi everyone, Amit from CodeLab here, and welcome back to the final video in our series on the basics of HTML and CSS. Now in this video, we will be discussing some of the basics of the Chrome Developer Console, which is just a super useful tool that we all sort of need as web developers. Now I also want to mention quickly before we begin that there are some text snippets down beneath me for some stuff that we did not make videos on. This could either be due to various time constraints or just because these are really small topics that aren't worth a whole entire video to discuss. But there's a ton of other stuff useful to know inside of both HTML and CSS that we did want to denote as text with different image examples right beneath this video. So make sure to actually go and read those as well after watching this video. So this video again is all about the Chrome Developer Console, and that is basically a tool that is super helpful and serves as a way to view different developer data about your web page. Now, every browser has this, but we do ask that you guys use Chrome. It is also the one most commonly developed and just sort of where web pages are most commonly viewed on. And the way that you can actually get access to this developer console, which you are looking at right now, I'm just going to be working off of the page from our last video. You can right click anywhere on your web page and then just click on inspect, and you should see this thing pop up right here. If you've used the developer console before, yours might look slightly differently, but this is the basic view right here. So again, after inspecting elements, there's a few multiple different things that you can do here that are super useful. And the first I want to show you is just how to view your web page at different screen sizes. So like right now here, for example, my console is everything on the right. And up here at the very top left of all this black stuff here on the right, and you can actually change the size of this by dragging this thing over, is this little thing that looks like a phone next to a tablet in the top left. If you click on that, this is called your device toolbar. So now something will open up here in the top. Now yours probably looks different than mine. Unfortunately, there's no way for me to reset mine back to how yours would look, but yours should look something like this. And basically, this is a way to view your screen at different screen sizes, because we often need to develop for other screen sizes, like iPhones, 4K monitors, basically anything that like is not your screen size. And there's a few different ways to change it. If you know the specific pixel width and height that you want to adjust to, so like if I want to view a screen at 1920 by 1080, you can actually just type those values into these little X to these text boxes right next to the X right here, and you can actually see your screen viewed at that size. You can also change how zoomed in you are. So if I just want to be like 100%, you can see that. Now obviously my screen 1920 by 1080, that is not actually like 1920 pixels right there on my screen, but it is scaled to look that specific way. That's why it scales to just 85%. Obviously, this screen would be a little bit bigger in person, but this is how much content they would be able to see on the page at that given time. Now, another thing that we can do if we want to not remember all of these sizes, Chrome actually gives us this drop down right here. So we were just in responsive mode. And actually, a quick aside, in responsive mode, you can actually just drag on the side or drag up and down if you just want to experiment without typing in pixel values. That's also super useful. But in this drop down right here, you can view a bunch of pre-built device sizes. So if I want to see what an iPhone X looks like, that's an iPhone X viewing my screen right now, or viewing my web page. Same thing with like an iPad, an iPad Pro, and so on and so forth. Now they also give you this nice little toolbar right here where you can click and view your screen at different sizes. So again, like the mobile small screen, a medium-sized mobile device, a large-sized mobile device, a tablet, a large tablet, a laptop that's large, as well as a 4K screen. You can pretty much view your page at any different size. So if you need to customize it to something custom, you can do that using these numbers or dragging around, but you can also use their custom built dropdown with a bunch of different predetermined sizes, as well as these up here at the top bar as well. Now, clicking that again to close it, one other thing that's also very important is the ability to actually look and peer into our CSS elements that are being attached to different HTML elements. So if you click on this little pointer right here, well, actually, before you even get to that, if you click on elements here in the top right, you'll notice that if you expand all of these dropdowns, you can actually see the exact code that I wrote with HTML for this web page. And if you hover over a specific block, it will actually hover over where that block exists. Now there's some yellow-blue stuff with like padding, border, and margin being displayed. You don't need to worry about that just yet, but know that is there in case you will ever need it. But if you hover over like that little p tag, you can see exactly where it exists on the page, where its container is. And then when you click on it here on the right, with this little styles thing right here, you'll actually see the exact CSS pop up. Now, if your thing is really small, yours will pop up on the bottom here, but you can actually see the exact CSS being applied to your p tag. Now, you'll notice this stuff right here is not code that we ever wrote together. That's because by default, your browser will apply automatically a lot of different properties to pretty much like any HTML tag that you do create. But beneath that is the CSS class that we did write, which defines things like our background color, our text, our border, things like that. And you can actually use this to experiment. So if you want, you can actually hover over these rules and click them to uncheck them and say, hey, what if I didn't align the text? Oh, now everything's aligned to the left. So now you can actually sort of like experiment and see what happens if this rule isn't applied. And if the rule is grayed out or it's actually slashed through, that means that something else is taking precedence and affecting over it. So like, for example, inside of this div right here, this font weight is being scratched out because the font weight for an H2 tag or like something else is actually taking precedence over it, basically. Yeah, so H2 tags come with their own font weight that you have to tell it that you want to take precedence over. So unless you specifically say that, your font weight will be scratched out. And if I uncheck it, nothing changes specifically for the H2 tag. Something changes for the P tag, but not for the H2, because the H2 already has its own font weight and this one is not being applied. Now, another thing is that if you can't actually find in your HTML code what it is that you're looking for, let's say you have like a ton of HTML code or it's just kind of like hard to parse through, you can actually click on this little button here in the top left right next to those devices. And this essentially allows you to hover over all of the different HTML elements on your page. So if you want to view more about this P tag and you can't actually find it in your HTML code to click on, you can just hover over it, click, and then it will take you directly in your source code to where it is, and it will pull up the CSS for you as if you had already just clicked on it. So just kind of a shortcut in case you don't want to go through the code or you can't find your thing in the code. Last thing that we would like to point out is that the Chrome Developer Console also has a console. So if you click on this console thing right here, this is actually a JavaScript environment. So if you really wanted to, you could type into it. You could do a bunch of different commands to mess with your page. But this is super useful because when we are creating websites that use JavaScript, we oftentimes log the JavaScript stuff out to the console to debug. And when we say that we log to the console, we really mean that we're logging to the Chrome Developer Console because that's the one that the application is running on. It's really running on Chrome. So Chrome has its own application console that will print out all of your JavaScript code for you. So just a heads up that when we say go and view your console for debugging, typically this is where you would debug your JavaScript code. But that's all for this video. Hopefully you all found this super helpful, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.